Hello everyone. Today's video is about the history of the CIA. Some of you might be asking, why would I want to know the history of an intelligence service? Why not World War I or World War II, Vietnam or Korea? Well, of course those things are important, but actually the CIA's history is very important to know. It is one of the most dominant imperialistic agencies in the world today. It has influenced how both the United States government and other foreign governments operate today. The CIA is very relevant to many of the problems we have today. But first, what is the CIA? The Central Intelligence Agency is a civilian foreign intelligence service of the federal government of the United States, tasked with gathering, processing, analyzing national security information from around the world, primarily through the use of human intelligence. The CIA was created on July 26, 1947, when U.S. President Harry S. Truman signed the National Security Act of 1947 into law. The National Security Act restructured the United States government's military and intelligence agencies following World War II. The act was passed in response to the rise of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics as a superpower. Shortly before the CIA was created, the Truman Doctrine was established. It was an American foreign policy whose stated purpose was to contain Soviet expansion. They wanted to contain communism and stop the spread, as a direct war with the Soviets would have most likely led to nuclear warfare. The doctrine was announced on March 12, 1947. The doctrine implied that the United States would provide support to countries that were under the threat of Soviet communism. The Truman Doctrine is commonly considered to be the beginning of the Cold War. By 1950, the CIA only had several thousand employees and was not at its full capacity as it was down the road. In 1948, the Office of Policy Coordination was created as a new cooperation wing of the CIA. It actually was independent until October 1950. Its purpose was for covert action. The OPC existed until August 1st, 1952, when it merged with the Office of Special Operations to form the Directorate of Plans, which is currently the Directorate of Operations. Before I go on, I want to let you know that all sources are in the description. Okay, time for the interesting stuff. This is something most Americans don't know about. The 1953 Iranian coup d'etat. In 1951, the Iranian Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh nationalized Iran's oil industry. Now, the British Empire was unhappy with this because they relied on the oil facilities in Iran. The initial response was a boycott by the British. Following this, the British asked the United States to get involved in covert action, but the Truman administration did not want to get involved. He was not in favor of covert action. By mid-1952, Britain's embargo on Iran's oil had a devastating effect on Iran. British agents in Iran worked to subvert Mossadegh's government. However, things changed when Dwight D. Eisenhower became the President of the United States in 1953. Eisenhower was in favor of taking action. The CIA and the British intelligence got together and worked out a plan to overthrow the Prime Minister to get out of the crisis. Something to keep in mind, Mossadegh was elected democratically. The British decided to get the CIA involved. The United States and Britain justified this because there were rumors of the Soviet Union getting involved. This was false. The communists in Iran supported Mossadegh, but he did not support communism. In August 1953, the Iranian coup began. By this time, the economic problems caused by the embargo led to political turmoil that began as a major toll on Mossadegh's popularity. There was rioting and clashes between rival political groups. The CIA did create these crowds that went out there and rioted. The coup was named Operation Ajax. The coup officially began on August 14th and it ended on August 19th. Mohammad Mossadegh was overthrown. Following the coup, a government under General Fazlollah Zahedi was created, which allowed the Shah to rule more firmly as a monarch. According to CIA documents, the crowds that started the pro-Shah riots were hired by the CIA. That was the 1953 Iranian coup d'etat. The United States did not formally acknowledge its role in the coup until August 2013, when they released previously classified documents that showed it was in charge of both the planning and execution of the coup. Now, this was only one of many coups that the CIA launched. The following year, in 1954, the CIA launched a coup in Guatemala. The United States opposed the Guatemalan government under Jacobo Arbenz. Here is some context. Guatemala began its revolution in 1944 after a popular uprising ended the military dictatorship of Jorge Ubico. Juan Jose Arevalo was elected president. He introduced a minimum wage, near universal suffrage, and turned the country into a democracy. Arevalo was succeeded by Jacobo Arbenz in 1951. Arbenz instituted land reforms. The United States government was predisposed during the Cold War to see it as communist. The perception grew after Arbenz legalized a communist party in Guatemala. The United Fruit Company was affected negatively by the end of the exploited labor practices in Guatemala. They lobbied and persuaded the United States government to launch a coup in Guatemala. Dwight D. Eisenhower wanted to have covert action to take on communism, even though Guatemala wasn't even communist. Eisenhower authorized the CIA to carry out Operation PB Success in August 1953, and the CIA created a force by Carlos Castillo Armas. Before the coup, the United States tried to isolate and criticize Guatemala internationally. Castillo Armas's force invaded Guatemala on June 18, 1954, backed by a heavy campaign of psychological warfare. This included a radio station which broadcasted anti-government propaganda and false news. The coup ended on June 27th, when Jacobo Arbenz resigned and the military dictatorship began. The first president of Indonesia was Sukarno. The United States did not like him after Sukarno declared neutrality in the Cold War. The CIA became suspicious of him. The CIA decided to attempt another coup in Indonesia. On September 25, 1957, Eisenhower ordered the CIA to start a revolution in Indonesia to get a regime change. Soon, the Indonesian media found out about the plan. Years later, in 1965, there was a failed coup d'etat by the September 30th movement. Following this, a general named Suharto blamed the failed coup on the Communist Party of Indonesia, the PKI. Despite no evidence of this, there was a genocide following this. The Indonesian genocide occurred in 1965 and 1966. It targeted alleged communist sympathizers, atheists, Jirwani members, and ethnic Javanese Abanga. Approximately 1 million people were killed. Documents have been released that the United States was involved and highly encouraged the genocide. As shown in the documents, the United States knew that most of the victims were innocent. In 1964, the United States launched a coup in Brazil. In 1963, João Goulart wanted to socialize the profits of large companies in Brazil to ensure a better quality of life for most Brazilians. Because of this, Goulart was labeled as a socialist threat. The military and the right-wing members of the society organized the major demonstrations against the government. The coup began on March 31, 1964, and ended on April 1, 1964. Goulart's government was overthrown, and the military junta assumed control, creating a military dictatorship that lasted until 1985. The CIA provided supplies and funding for the coup. In 1970, Salvador Allende, a democratic socialist, was elected president of Chile. The United States saw Chile as a threat and wanted to stop the spread of Soviet influence. So in response, Richard Nixon put sanctions on Chile and did other things to purposely harm the Chilean economy. After this, unrest was in the country. On September 11, 1973, the Chilean military, backed by the CIA, overthrew Allende, and General Augusto Pinochet became the right-wing dictator of Chile. Allende was forced to commit suicide. Pinochet's dictatorship lasted for 17 years. There was another coup that occurred in Argentina. In February 1975, Operativo Independencia was launched to eliminate the Guevaras guerrillas in the Tucumán jungle. In October, the country was divided into 5 military zones. By January of the following year, the guerrilla presence decreased. Meanwhile, the military, fully backed by the local elite and the United States, was powerful. On March 24, 1976, Argentinian President Isabel Perón was overthrown in a right-wing coup that led to a military junta being installed. Jorge Rafael Videla was installed as President of Argentina. Following this, Argentina experienced a dictatorship that killed at least 30,000 people. By the way, this was part of something called Operation Condor, which was backed by the United States. Alright, this was a brief history of the CIA. The CIA is still active and does still get involved in other foreign governments. Hopefully, this shows you how imperialistic the United States is and how the United States did bad things during the Cold War as well. Thank you for watching this video. Please give this video a like, share this video with somebody, and also please subscribe to my channel if you have not done so. Thanks for watching. Please follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and I will see you next time.